Well, hello, Cam.
Oh, hi.
I guess I should put us in here.
Yeah, let's see our beautiful, beautiful selves.
Oh, let's see here. If I can figure it out. You know, select. Come on. Oh, I guess I have to drag us. No. Hmm. Well, it had us before. Why doesn't it have us now? Gotta love it.
You know what's the good thing about this?
It's just us.
It's just no one's listening. That's right. We're just
Nobody cares.
right.
Oh, let's see. I have a set for audio on. Oh, well, there we go. Ta-da.
Ah,
Back.
greetings.
I can go back here. Now, now we're cooking with gas.
There we go. Okay. Well, let's burn time before we get our 1 to 2 viewers in here.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. Oh my gosh. So fun week. Yeah.
no,
No.
nope, not at all. This was been bad week for me.
No. Yeah. Well, yeah. We had an interesting situation. Um, somebody got a bogus phone call claiming to be the phone company,
Mm.
and it didn't go to me. I won't name who it went to, but suffice it to say, they said, "Can you read us the number that just texted to your phone?" They did that 3 times. Meanwhile, I'm going, "No, no, no."
Mm.
So I immediately
Yeah.
called them, and of course, you get some foreign help desk that's useless.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I talked to them twice, and I said, They're like, "Oh, we're not seeing anything changed on your account." hmm Guess what didn't work this morning?
Oh boy.
Our phones. Surprise, surprise. So I had to, on a Sunday in the Bible Belt, I go and try and find a store for that provider because that's what the lady on the phone had said I had to do. Of course, I couldn't make a phone call. I couldn't call anybody. And yeah, so I went, oh, I don't know, about 35, 40 minutes one way, went to another place, and then back another 35 minutes to through a third place that was open. And the other place is opened at noon. They're open like noon to 5 on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this place is open like 10 to 6 on Sunday. So they were already open. But
I had this is someone I know, an elderly person who has a phone, and they've been, they use it and stuff, and
mhm,
then they're like, "Hey, what's this?" And it's asking for a pin, and I'm like,
mhm.
"Well, it's your pin," and they're like, "What is that?" And I said, "It's like security code you put in," and they're like, "I've never seen this before in my life," and they've had this phone for a while, and they're like, I've seen them use it and everything, I don't think they've so somehow that got activated and now they're locked out of their phone. And I have no idea how to undo that.
Yeah. So what you have to do is go and find the provider that's open, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, and they can reset it. They're probably going to have to replace the SIM card. If it's an old enough phone, as the one was, I had to buy a new phone. Fortunately, they're cheap there, so it only cost me about $60. But
Yeah, this one's pretty new. I think he got it maybe less than a year ago, kind of thing.
yeah,
But yeah, but I'm sure he didn't have a pin before, so somehow he either stumbled into it and clicked that,
yeah.
turn on security or whatever. But man,
So
that's bad.
anybody who's out there who might be listening to us, if somebody calls you claiming to be your phone provider, hang up immediately. Do not pass go.
Yeah.
Do not collect $100 because it's going to be a pain in your butt.
Hey, look, Greg has showed up.
Where's Greg at? Oh,
He's right for me.
Oh,
welcome.
hi, Craig.
All right, we can now proceed since we have our requisite
We have our
one.
requisite one viewer.
All right, you know what I'm going to do because it's been a hard week. I mentioned this to Jeff ahead of time. You hear this, everybody? My icy bucket of beer, one beer.
It's
I'm
ice.
going to.
You could fill a
It,
whole bucket full of ice just for one beer, huh?
yeah, I like. I want to keep it chilly. So here we go. I'm gonna open it here on air for everybody to. Well, that didn't sound like much. Here, how about? There
There
we
we
go.
go.
All right, cheers, everybody. My twice a year drink. Okay,
Okay.
there we go. Ready for
Are
business.
you ready for business?
Yep, I'm lubed up now. We can get going. Okay, hey, why don't we tell everybody what this channel's all about? Since you were a very successful booker of guests for the first shows, we had 3 guests.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay, yeah. In our first 3 shows, and we never got a chance to really explain what this is about. And since it's your show, I'm just a guest,
You're not a
as it were.
guest. You're my
Well,
co-host.
a co-host, sure.
Handpicked.
But you're right. You're the primary. So what is the purpose of how about an interview here kind of briefly?
Okay, sure.
What is the purpose of this show? And this show, which is shown simulcast on Tennessee Tabletop Tavern and Sci-Fi for Me TV.
That's right. And it's also on Rumble, on my Rumble channel. So
There you go.
well, first of all, one of the ideas is definitely to have some guests of people that you and I find interesting or we'd like to talk to about tabletop gaming in general. Maybe a little bit of sci-fi fantasy side tangents because we are wanting for those.
And of course, there are plenty of sci-fi role-playing games as
There
well.
are, yeah, I have a couple of them down on the bottom shelf of trying not to make my Christmas tree transparent. It's tough. It's tough.
Yes.
But yeah, there's a number of them. I'd like to play some. I've played a couple. Most of the ones that I've played were in the cyberpunk genre.
Hmm.
So, but I really there's one that I'm dying to play. Traveler. I really
Okay.
want to play Traveler. I want to try that whole colossal system type of thing. I
Our
think it would
friend
be.
Mike our friend Michael from regular on Sci-Fi for Me chats and occasional guests on there, as well as the Babylon 5 show. He is a fan of Traveler, I believe,
He
and he's
is.
played for
He is.
since way back. So
Yeah. Let's see. So Traveler's one of the things that's on my list. I do have it. I have the core book, and then I have the 2022 update, I think it is. I think it's a 2022 update. There was a couple of changes in it. The biggest thing is that they went from glossy, a lot of black pages to not so much black, and I think that had to do probably with the cost of ink. That's my
yeah, I can
guess.
see that.
Um,
The yeah, well, we can get into all that stuff, but
yeah.
So yeah, generally, you're basically we're a general RPG show here where we talk about a wide variety of topics theoretically
Yep.
in the world of role playing games. But tonight's show, since people might not know us or our background and say, hey, who are these jerks to be telling me about RPGs? Jeff and I discussed it and thought, well, maybe we should talk about how we got into RPGs and what our experience is, and then maybe people in the chat, if anyone likes, or if more people show up, they can say, hey, this is what I've done in RPGs and what I like, what I don't like. Just kind of give everybody a feel for the starting point here. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about before we get into that?
Let's see. Well, what other type of topics? Well, basically, yeah, general RPG stuff. Anything that's tabletop related, or adjacent in that. Maybe some con information if you've been to a con, got a con. Hopefully, we're gonna have guests that come on talking about the various modules, adventures, game systems, you name it. Books. We've already had Glenn Hallstrom on, who wrote a book and does a lot of gaming stuff. We've had just on Sci-Fi for Me TV, we got to have Heidi and Eric Gygax come on from Gaxlin Games, and we've also had Stephen Chenault on there. So I'm hoping to get them back again, hopefully on this show. And
Stephen
just
of Troll Lord Games, right?
Troller Games, yeah, Stephen Chenault from Troller Games,
Who put out the
and
excellent Castles and Crusades.
yes, and for those of you that have been lost in the wilderness, dismayed by WotC and what they've done to us, hopefully we can give you some alternatives. Although I did play in a WotC game today.
Oh, did you? What'd you play?
A guy I met that I've been talking to, trying to find people to play, actually has written a couple of modules, and they're published, I think, on DriveThru. And he had sent me one that was like a Halloween themed one, but this one was another one that he had written, and he was looking for a couple of people. So his wife, myself, and another couple that lives up in Knoxville that just moved here from Wisconsin, of all things, from the mecca of tabletop role playing.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, no matter what people in Washington State like to think.
That's right. They co-opted Midwestern dude culture,
Yep.
and bastardized it.
Yeah,
But
unfortunately.
that's a little grognard coming out right there.
Yeah, and I think we're both kind of in the grognard territory. At least we're grognard right on that borderline at the very least, if not already there.
Yeah, I can't. Well, this might come out in the order store. I can't claim to be the first. There's certainly people more grognardy than I. I'm a Gen Xer, so, and I think you are as well, right?
Yep.
So there are people that came in before us.
Oh yeah.
But at this point, the percentage that we're in is much closer to them than the newer people today. Of course.
Yeah. And these people that I was playing with, the couple was a young couple. I don't know if they've been married that terribly long or what. They were nice. They're great people.
Cool.
So wasn't too bad. And of course the guy that was running it, he was great, and his wife. There, my wife and I had already had dinner with them a couple of months ago when we were starting to recruit people. So.
Yes, Weatherman, WotC, especially today, are absolute hacks.
Yes.
And we could get into that maybe at some point. But so, Jeff, I kind of wrote, I took a little bit of time and just wrote a few notes to refresh my memory about my personal gaming history with RPGs. Did you want to go first, or do you want me to go first and kind of give the rundown?
Well, oh, look, there they are. Everybody's on Jason's channel. That's why I'm not seeing. I'm monitoring mine, but I went ahead and let me kick the chat on. Just what do you think? Should we
Sure.
go ahead and show it on the stream?
They don't need to see our pretty faces.
Yeah. We're just squished more, but whatever. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and go first? And if you want to ask me some questions, that's fine. I'll try and answer. Then I've got a list too that I kind of wrote down.
Okay. It just so happens that yesterday, I don't know if you've ever heard, there's a channel called the Beckme Berserker. He's a British guy, I think. And he focuses on, Beckme D&D stuff. But yesterday, or I saw it yesterday, at least, I think it came up maybe earlier this week. He did a show that was kind of about the golden age. What's your golden age? And he kind of created these fictionalized accounts of what that first experience with D&D might be for all these different eras. And then he even made like a one that's like set in the future, like in 50 years from now and such. And the point of it was, it's going to be different for everybody, right? It's like, what's, and obviously your introduction into thing is going to be the thing where you hold the most nostalgia for, most likely. So for me, I can't really say what the exact first time I ever heard of the term D&D, and obviously this is going back to the early 80s, maybe even into the late 70s at some point. I'm not sure when I first heard it, but there would have only been a few places. One would have been in advertisements in comic books.
Mhm.
Because I remember there was a series of really cool, 1-page advertisements for D&D that had like a cartoon, that went with it, which was Bill Willingham, I think, did the art on those. He's a well-known comic artist, been around forever, of course, obviously since those days. But he did art in the BX books, which is some of my favorite stuff ever. But so that might be one source. But I know an early source that really got me going was the movie E.T. Came out in 1982. I absolutely love that movie. Uh,
Mhm.
and as people who have seen it may recall, the kids uh, are all sitting around their kitchen table playing D&D, uh, and it doesn't really go into D&D a lot, but that's what they just happen to be at the house for when Elliot, ends up seeing EET for the first time and such. And there's a few references, them insulting each other at the bus stop and such. But for whatever reason, that really captured my attention. I'm like, what is this thing that they're doing here? There was a little short scene where, Elliot was going off about what his character was doing or something. And that captured my attention. So I, I, I went on, trying to find, um, about this game. There was no internet, of course, at that time. And so I tried to find out about it, and, you know, trying to find players. There was one kid that was older than me that, he said something about it, but he blew me off. It's like, yeah, let this kid play with me. And then I remember seeing in a catalog, like a Sears catalog or something, there was a Mattel game branded with D&D. It was an electronic game of some sort. That was some
Really?
kind of puzzle game or something. You could look it up if you look up Mattel D&D. It was like just a square board, and I don't know how it worked. I never played it, but in my mind it's like, oh, that's D&D. So it's something to do with this board. But that's how little I knew about it, right? Um, uh, and so I had, a year or so of time unsuccessfully finding anything about it. Lo and behold, I find out my cousin, who I was actually fairly close with at one time, they lived like right next to us, but he had moved to the next town over or something, so I didn't see him as often. Turns out he played D&D, and it's like, oh, awesome, great, and he's like, oh yeah, let's play D&D. So I spent the night at his house or something and we played D&D, which it put that in quotes, playing D&D,
Played
because
played with, what you could figure out, right?
right, and it was, I'm sure, very rough. We did roll d20s and determine success, but it was basically just him eyeballing it and saying yes, yes, no, blah blah blah. And I didn't understand anything. It's like level. It's like I'm thinking level, like levels of dungeon. It's like level is used many
Yeah.
different times in D&D, kind
Yes.
of poorly chosen to refer to all these different things. But anyway, I got my foot in the door with that, and then uh, shortly after, he stayed overnight at my house, probably the next week or something. And we played again and did this, and I made up a paladin character, probably a fighter, actually. Um, but then the next day, I'm very fond of this story, and I'm sure some people have heard it before, but I like it. We went on our own little quest where we walked down some railroad tracks to get to a hobby store I knew of in my town.
You didn't
Um,
find a dead body, did you?
no, we didn't.
You
Which
know
that
where
would
I'm
have,
going with that,
yeah,
right?
exactly, exactly.
Or run
That
into Will Wheaton. Will
right,
Wheaton.
right. That would have been a whole different end to this, but
Yeah, that would.
went to this hobby store, and they actually had the basic Mold
Mhm.
basic set, which I bought. I had some money from birthdays or whatever, I'm sure,
Right.
and bought that in a box of Grenadier miniatures, because why not? Could
Yeah.
thought that was cool, of course. And then I started into it from there. I realize this is going a little long, so I'll try and make it faster. Shortly, so then after that, of course, I'm reading all this, the book I have there, and trying to learn as much as I can. uh Long story, next, I of course, you're looking for other players, right? That's the first
Right.
thing you need with that. So I
Mhm.
start to talk to people at school about it. My best friend at the time, he got into it, and he's like, oh, you mean, so I tell him about it. He's like, oh, it's like The Hobbit. And I'm like, what's The Hobbit? And I'd never heard of Tolkien at that time.
Oops.
So he got me into that. And then, so, I started reading that, and then that kind of took over a lot of my thinking in regards to this, right? Because, obviously The Hobbit is a, world famous thing and a great story and such.
Right,
So,
right.
and all that. So, my mind started going towards Middle Earth in terms of all this. And, we kind of focused on that. But, through this, I go to another town. Where they had a hobby store, and it's like, oh look, then there's this whole other thing. It's like, well, what's this advanced Dungeons and Dragons thing? It's like, well,
It's
Dungeons and
advanced
Dragons,
Dungeons and Dragons, Mark.
right. And I had no concept that there was any, oh, okay, yeah, this is just another thing for this game, not that they're really two separate games.
Right.
But I bought some of that, and then it's like I bought my first set of dice. The one that came in the box kind of sucked, but these were like, crystal dice, as we used to call them. The clear dice. And colored in the numbers and everything with the crayons and such,
yeah.
and that whole experience. And then so from there, it kind of spiraled. We kind of did this thing where it was just a couple of us, and we would get some other kids and play at a library or something from school. But then I ended up a neighbor that was in college at the time. I ran across his nephew that would come to visit him or something. And it's like, hey, my uncle plays D&D. This kid tells me, it's like, oh, let's play. So, some night in the summer, it's like, this is, 1983 or 84 or something like this, at this point, it's like, it's like, let's play this game. So, we just sit down and start playing this game. We just use their characters or whatever. And that I ended up becoming friends with this group of, older guys. They were in college. I was in like junior high, or something like that. But because they essentially were neighbors, my parents had enough trust, that you could game with these guys, so,
Right.
and that turned into a 15 plus year gaming thing that went into the 90s. In which we basically deviated. Oh, good. Snob's going to troll me now. It's not about my life. It's about gaming. I realize this is getting boring. Basically, we went into a huge thing of homebrew games. We played maybe 20. If I counted, I'd say 20 different homebrew games where we kind of just dropped, any of the official D&D stuff, and we just played our own games and really loved it. The guy who, DM'd the games was really good at it. He was a good storyteller and everything. And we, just really ran with it for a long period of time. A fairly small group of people, though, maybe, 6 to 8 people mixed in, but, kind of a core group of 4 people. Fast forward through that till, the 90s. Of course, I'm older by that point. And, this is when in 1993, Magic the Gathering came out. Right. So that kind of, I started looking for, I got into that in 1994 and played that and got involved in this, a different store that, where that was big and everything. And role playing kind of fell to the side. I still played with that other group a bit.
Yeah.
But, Magic became the focus in my gaming life.
Yeah.
But then, that kind of cooled off, and then suddenly lo and behold, same group of, nerds play nerd things. Right. So then I ended up playing some 2E AD&D stuff. And, played in a game that's based in Forgotten Realms, Birthright, campaign setting, stuff. Played that for a while, ran some of my own games. Then 3rd edition D&D came out, played that very heavily. And I swear I'm getting to the end of this. Played that for, quite a few years, a lot of different campaigns, really, really. I'm one of the people that really enjoyed 3rd edition. I know that it's, for the older set, it's kind of like, oh, that's WotC garbage, it's not real D&D. And I understand the arguments and things, but I liked it. I really thought that it was the only true second game, second version of the game, I think you have original D&D and all the things that came from that. And then you have 3rd edition D&D. But we can get into that too. Anyway, played that. 4th edition came along, splintered all the groups that we ever.
Oh boy, did
had.
it.
Yeah. And then my life kind of left role playing games and went into board games for 10 plus years. But then around, I really didn't play much at all. And then, 2022 era, some friends of mine that, from those other groups were like, hey, we should play a game, and didn't end up happening, but it got me back into role playing. And I started, just kind of reviewing stuff and looking through my old stuff and learning about where games are now and delving into the history of D&D more. than I ever knew, prior to that, other than my own experience.
Yeah.
And then, so recently I've been able to play a little bit, in from 22 till now, playing, lightly compared to the old days, where we'd have 12-hour sessions and all this other stuff. But that's basically my role playing history. And here I am. And now I'm just an idiot that buys more games than I can play. So
Yeah.
sorry that took that long, everybody, for my indulgent.
And good night. No, no, I'm just kidding. That was kind of. I was taking some notes here. You're kind of triggering some things, and some of the things I had actually written down. I was going to. I guess I should start with the very first thing.
Mhm.
So I missed that part in ET. I mean, I saw ET in theaters. I remember that was the first time I saw my mom cry in a movie.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, "Mom, it's just a movie. He's an alien. He's not real," you know?
Mhm.
But, the story got to her. I got you. You know? The first introduction to anything, in the fantasy genre, I mean, I grew up, my dad watched Star Trek every day at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It'd come on Channel 6 in Orlando. When I was little, before that, up in Indiana, it was kind of the same thing. That was one of the regular things he would watch. We'd also watch Doctor Who. I remember watching like Battlestar Galactica and Buck Rogers. Rest in peace, Gil Gerard.
Mm.
Um, I'd love to get my hands on a copy of the Buck Rogers game just because I know they couldn't give it away.
Dude, I've been looking. I was looking for one recently. We were talking about that and trying to find them, and it's pretty hard to find, like on eBay or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of them found their way into the same type of place that the ET video
Yeah,
game did.
they're all in landfill somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. They literally, and there was a whole story behind why TSR at that point, this was still TSR,
Yeah.
did
Good
that.
old good old
Had to do
Lorraine
with,
Williams.
yeah, well, people named Williams are not good for D&D
No, not at all.
or for the people that make it.
The short
Um,
version is that she's related to the owners
right.
of Buck Rogers.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's why it got made. And they made a lot of copies thinking it was going to sell. But this was after Buck Rogers already went off the air, got canceled. What, 1.5 seasons in, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was only like 11 episodes or something like that of season 2.
Well, when did that? So that would have been the Buck Rogers game. Probably would have been 86 or 87 that came out.
Yeah. This was after Gary was already forced out.
Mm-hmm.
So because that probably wouldn't have. That, at least that's my understanding. So my first introduction though into fantasy, I remember being in second grade. And do you remember the film strip players that also had the cassette tape deck
Yep.
built into it?
With the
And
beep, you got to flip it.
and when the beep happened, it would auto advance.
Yep.
That was how I saw The Hobbit.
Oh,
That
really?
was my first. The Hobbit cartoon. I've never seen it as an actual run length feature. I've only
Okay.
seen it as a film strip. So I really, really need to find it. But because I see clips from it all the time, Double D plays clips, where there's a whip, there's a way.
Wait a minute. Okay, that's from Return of the King, which was also Rankin Bass that did that.
Right. But I haven't, and I have the Rankin Bass stuff for like this time of year, but trying to find like that stuff, I need to really crack down and remember to find it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have. I know I have Lord of the Rings, the Bakshi one on VHS. And I think I have The Hobbit on VHS.
Yeah. I wonder if they're on DVD in some sort of box set. They've got to be.
I know the Lord. I think I have the Lord. I was able to get a hold of the Lord of the Rings on DVD. I don't think I have The Hobbit. But those are awesome. Those,
yeah,
absolutely.
But yeah, they played it, and of course this was trying to introduce second graders to literature, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which at that point in my life, I could already read at an advanced level when I was in second grade.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest drawback was handwriting, which kids today don't even have to deal with.
Yeah,
I'm serious.
Right there with you.
Handwriting is the one because, well, so this wrist here has been not the wrist technically, but my arm has been broken 3 times in my life, all
Yikes.
within about that amount of space, the width of my finger. And the first time was because my foster brother, my parents took in foster kids. My foster
Mm,
brother threw me off. Well, what to a 5-year-old was a cliff,
mm,
yeah, which means it was about 3 feet. But and I landed funny, and that was the first time I broke my arm. The second time was in 5th grade, and then the third time was in 6th grade. I got tackled playing flag football in 6th grade. First and last time I played football.
mm.
A tackle or not, I don't care. It was supposed to be flag football, but I got tackled, and so I was never. I'm not an athletic kid. I don't know if you can tell, but never really was. But I did like to read, and I tended to read nerdy stuff, and a lot of sciencey stuff. For like 8th grade, I did Dune and all that. But when I was in 7th grade at Denjon Middle School, and there's a point to why I would say the middle school. Um, first day of class, when I was first introduced, to the school, my buddy was explaining it to me, and he's like, "Look, okay, so like here, this was a new concept design in the 70s, right? So it had in the big building, there was a media center, right? And it was kind of an octagonal shape. And then around it, around that big media center, there was a hallway and classrooms. And then there was two wings that went out either way, and then there was two other buildings with more classrooms. Um, all it was all kind of one building, sorta, but y you know, and
Mhm.
they're like, "It looks just like the Starship Enterprise." So so I'm like, "Okay, cool." Um, so the nerd table at lunch, right?
Mhm.
Kinda where everybody hangs out, at lunch and talks comic books and science fiction, what would happen on TV, yada yada yada. "Oh, man, did you see Knight Rider? Did you see the A-Team? Did you see whatever?" My buddy was talking about this game Dungeons and Dragons. So this was 1985, and the reason I know it was 85 is because it wasn't. I only went to school for 7th grade there. Florida had so many people moving in that I got redistricted 3 times.
Mm.
Um, you know, so I'm still friends with him, by the way. His name is Justin. He's pretty awesome. Um, he moved to Texas a long time ago from Florida, but but he introduced me into Dungeons and Dragons, right? And so we kind of played around, and I'm guessing it had to be first edition because I don't think second edition came out until after then. And we played around a little bit, and kind of like you, we didn't know what we were doing. I mean, he was more into it than I was, but we were still kids and trying to figure stuff out, and but he was also into you love Venn diagrams. There's that Venn diagram there of sci-fi, fantasy, and comic books.
Mhm.
And not everybody like I'm not a comic book guy, but a lot of my friends are.
Sure.
And just like they're not all tabletop gamers, but there may be sci-fi or and fantasy stuff, so kind of we all run in the same circles together, you know what I mean? Um and ironically, it just so happened our history teacher, Mr. Holmes, and I think he might still be alive. I don't know. I have to look. He may have
Holmes
passed away.
of Holmes Basic fame?
No, no.
Oh,
But
different Holmes. Okay.
the funny thing is he was our history teacher. He was a Civil War reenactor, so he was really big into that. Come to find out, he also worked at this store, this chain. Well, it was just at that time it wasn't even a chain. It was just a store called Coliseum Comics in Kissimmee, and which is where I grew up. That was his summer gig, his part-time gig, because he was a teacher, and teachers are off for three months of the year, just like the kids. So he would do like weekend shifts there, like during the school year, maybe to pick up some extra cash, and then that was his regular gig during the summer, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he also and I don't know why I never joined it, but he was the sponsor. You know, any clubs at school has to have a sponsor. A teacher that's a sponsor. He was a sponsor of the D&D club at my middle school in 7th grade. And of course, the reason why I named the school is because our mascot is a red dragon. We were the Denjon Dragons. So it was just kind of like, I was surrounded by this all that time. So, any rate, so
It's going to rub off on you sooner or later.
right, right. I kept on being exposed to it. And then, of course, went to 8th grade, and that's when I read Dune and got into, Dune. Well, here, Dune. you know, and I loved it, and I liked trying to read it without looking at the glossary, and then going back to see if what I thought the words meant, by reading by context.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the way I like to. I really really loved it. Of course, at the end of 8th grade, we heard about this new show coming, and this would have been 1987. Yeah. As school was getting out in 87, what was coming? We were talking about it, man. There was all the nerds. We had a buzz going on among our community. And of course, you know what show that was, right?
What year was this?
87.
87.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not ringing a bell for me right now.
No? Wow. Okay. Well, make it so. Engage.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Jeez. Yep.
Yeah.
Next
So,
generation.
yeah. So that came out, of course. And the reason, again, the reason I knew it was 7th grade, 1986 is when the Challenger explosion was,
Yep.
and where I was in school in 7th grade, that was January. So I know it had to be 1985 that I was introduced, because it was early in the school year, and of course that's the latter half of the school year in January. And by the time I got to high school, of course, we had already seen the first season of Next Generation was on, or was coming on, and yeah, so went through that, made lots of friends in high school. Of course, you go to school with different kids in high school, so I made my
Right.
kind of expanded my nerddom, community. I had friends that would read Piers Anthony. I knew one guy. Uh, he's still around. I think I'm friends with him on Facebook. But he would just like, he always had one of those, a book in his face, and it was always like this. And I don't know how he managed to do it. He could navigate his ways through the various halls of the different buildings while reading a book between classes.
Hmm.
I could never do that. but fast forward, just after high school, and my buddy, the one that introduced me to D&D, and I went to Taco Bell, and we saw, while we're sitting there, some dude was looking at us, right? And I didn't notice it, but my friend's like, hey, that dude over there is looking at us kind of funny. Like he wants to, kick our ass or something. and I turn around and I look, and I'm like, oh my God, that's Rob from high school. Because my buddy Justin and we went to two different high schools because of the whole redistricting
Sure.
thing. And I'm like, yeah, hey man, come on. And he's like, oh good, I wasn't looking forward to getting into a fight in Taco Bell. But yeah, turned to come to find out, and he was like a huge Kiss fan and all that stuff, right? I mean, he painted his face in the Kiss colors, as Gene Simmons.
Like on a daily basis? What?
No, for like Spirit Day,
Oh, okay.
but he used like latex paint, which isn't really designed to go on your skin.
No.
But any rate, yeah, he had school spirit, and our school colors is like blue and gold. So,
Mm.
but imagine, the what does he call the demon? I forget what Gene's character is. The demon something or other. Any rate,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you put that makeup on, but it was blue and gold instead of black and white. But yeah, he was buddies with a bunch of other guys that they all did tabletop stuff. And of course, the end thing at that time, and they had played D&D, but they were like, yeah, we don't really want to play D&D. So I'm like, well, I found this game Cyberpunk 2020, and I had picked it up at Coliseum, and I wanted to play this game because I had already been into William Gibson. I had already read several of Gibson's novels and stuff like that. And they're like, well, how about this other game? We got this game called Shadowrun. And I'm like, okay. They're like, oh, it's kind of like Cyberpunk, but also kind of like D&D. And so we played the hell out of that, and we had marathon sessions. And while we were waiting for everybody to show up, Animaniacs would be on, stuff like that. But at any rate, that was when I really got majorly active in tabletop gaming. So this would have been probably right around 91, and did that for several years. Of course, got into the video games, the old SSI games. I played a lot of those, which of course were second edition based, right? And uh, we did the whole gaming thing, and I was working. Yes, they did, Savina. She pointed that out. That Shadowrun, there was a Nintendo NES game. I was not the kid with the NES. I was a PC gamer. So, in fact, I had an Atari 2600 back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
That I begged my mom to get. I remember that.
Yeah.
I wanted a 2600. They bought an Odyssey 2, a Magnafox Odyssey 2,
Mm-hmm.
which actually lasted until the dog peed on it. It
Oh.
was cool. It had a keyboard and all that, but any rate, so suffice it to say, um, I made friends with all these people, and we were like a core group. We were gamers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were doing all that anything. Some of them got into Magic. That was about the time Magic came out. What was that? Like you said, 93.
Yep.
So that some of them got really into that. Some of them got into Vampire.
Oh boy.
Yeah, going out LARPing. I never got into the LARPing thing. I have friends who do. Obviously, we had Travis Faber on. He was. I think he ran some sort of thing he had talked about. And like,
Michael also in we mentioned, sci-fi for me, friend of the show, Michael,
mhm,
also into LARPing, I think.
yeah. And I don't have anything bad to say. I mean, if it's your thing, it's like cosplayers are cool, but I'm not a cosplayer. I'm not into that.
Sure.
But I don't begrudge those who like it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I guess I have to mention that. Michael, thank you for gifting memberships on Sci-Fi for me. I'm pretty sure that's where that's at, because we don't have enough subs on my channel yet. Everybody, if you're not subbed to my channel, sub to my channel too.
Well, Weatherman, not Michael.
Yeah, Weatherman. Yeah, Weatherman. And then trying to make sure I put it up here. So Arm Briggs got one. Oh, the IT crowd. That was the story of my life. Let me tell you, Davina.
Can I throw in a quick anecdote about
Absolutely.
so Vampire is part of the World of Darkness. What I forget what's the company that put all that stuff out?
White Wolf
Yeah, White
back
Wolf.
then.
Right.
Yeah.
There was Vampire, Werewolf, Mage, and
Mhm.
they came out with Changeling, and these were all kind of the same world. The World of Darkness, or whatever.
Right.
I kind of like the Mage game. It was basically, well, about kind of wizardy kinds of things, but not in the traditional sense of wizards. Anyway, some years later, I ran across some guy that I was having an argument with on the Twitters, and he's like, he turns out he was one of the guys that wrote like a lot of that stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
You're
I did-
insulting the guy who created it, huh?
that's right. But I mean, but I told him, I said, oh, I love those books. It was, they were fun. I only played it a little bit, but they were kind of cool. in terms of setting and stuff.
Right.
That's actually an interesting thing, maybe a topic we could look at, that kind of branch of role playing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
but
If
sorry,
you
that
know
was just
anybody.
a quick aside.
No, no. I there was a long hiatus. Was turning 21. I moved to Vegas when I turned 21. 21, living in Vegas, which is how I missed Babylon 5.
Mm,
Um, the last thing on my mind was watching TV, especially when it wasn't my TV. It was the roommates and it was their house, and I just had a room. So, um, but uh, came back, and I remember the internet. I came back, and that's when the internet broadband. We got broadband right after I moved back to from Vegas. Everybody I knew in Vegas back in '94 had broadband. '94. It had already spread out to there. Come back to Florida, and of course, broadband wasn't a thing yet. And but I called up whoever was it, Time Warner or whatever at the time. Then it became Bright House. Now it's Spectrum. But I called them up, and they're like, "How do you know about Roadrunner?" And I said, "Because I just moved back from Vegas, and everybody I know has it. Every cocktail waitress, bartender, server, you name it. you know,
hmm
when you go hang out at certain places, certain casinos, and regularly at certain coffee shops, you get to know the people that work there, right?
Sure.
And yeah, we would just like, I'm like, oh my god, I got it. Everybody I worked with had it. So got broadband, um, got back into the whole IT game, and um, I was out, I think, working as a contractor out at Disney in Celebration, and that's about the time that I heard about this game called Neverwinter Nights was in development by BioWare,
hmm
and that's what rekindled the whole. I really want to play, D&D now. I want to get back into that. I wanted to play it back then. I know we played around with it a little bit back in seventh grade, but now, I really want to, I want to try, the true fantasy, the granddaddy of them all, if you will. And um, third edition was coming out, and I picked up third edition. God, the first one must have got it at probably like a Walden Books.
hmm
Um, I think that's probably where I bought the first one. I still have my 3.5 stuff. I might have my third edition book somewhere. But yeah, but of course, it came out, and then they're like, "Oh, yeah, by the way, we're following second edition ADD rules. we're not actually doing the third edition rules."
Well, I don't know
Cuz
how you do that. That seems like a heavy lift.
yeah.
I
But
remember. I remember I was heavily involved in some 2E stuff when third edition came out, and I was really against the 3E. It's like stuff, and I remember just railing about it, but it really won me over. So.
yeah. Um and Davina's right. Neverwinter Nights 2 was rushed. It was incomplete. It was this was BioWare was kind of having issues at that point. I think that was the downslide of things, and it never, like, it didn't have the tool set when it launched like Neverwinter Nights did. That was the whole key thing, was a tool set. You could run your own games. You could run your own server. You know, and a lot of people did. And mod game, you could put in your own mods. You could make your own items, and this and that and the other, and it
hmm
was just totally like my jam, right? So I was even a beta tester for it.
Cool.
So I used to have a CD, a couple of CD-ROMs that were they were actually CDRs, but they did have the BioWare logo printed on them, so they were like custom CDs that they had ordered with their logo on them. But then handwritten on it was NWN, disc 1, disc 2, that type of thing, because it
hmm
was a beta.
Sure.
And they mailed them out to us. Man, wish I still had those. But yeah, I met my then girlfriend, now wife, um, who's I think, getting ready to go to work any minute. I hear her. And, you know, we one of her coworkers was like, "Oh yeah, he likes, this guy I work with, he really likes D&D and blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "Hey, and then he wound up becoming our roommate, and then then he was DMing 3rd edition 3.5. I had the books and stuff, and he was like a walking Forgotten Realms encyclopedia. So, but one day he was like, I really want to play. I haven't played in so long, And I'm like, okay, I guess I can try.
Mm-hmm.
And found out I love DMing. Um,
Hmm.
I DMing like engages me. It's like, all thrusters engaged. It's like everything is everything. All there's so many different moving parts that you're doing, and it just for somebody who's got ADD, it totally engages you.
Hmm.
And that was at least in my case.
See, I'm kind of the opposite. Is I've always enjoyed. I mean, I've DM'd even from
Mhm.
early on, uh, here and there, but I really have always enjoyed being a player more. Um, but today I find myself having to DM because I'm the one with the most experience and I'm trying to get people to play at all. And it's hard to say, hey, you new guy, why don't you run a game for me? So uh, unfortunately, I'm the opposite of you where you enjoy it. I'm kind of cool on it, but you got to do what you got to do.
Hey, Snugs. Um, the four-sided dice hurt more.
Oh, yeah, true.
uh,
None are good, but the Foresighter is the king of pain.
King of Pain. Yes, yes. It is a Caltrops. Uh, I read a joke about that somewhere. It says Gary, when Gary was designing D&D, he during the Satanic Panic, he said he came up with a way so that we could keep our books from getting burnt. He included a D4 in every set of dice. So if somebody broke in and tried to take your books, you just threw down your D4s, and you could escape out the window. Oh man. Um, but yeah, we played the hell out of 3.5. So 3.5 is where I cut my teeth DMing. And I DM'd the whole rest of the time that we played 3.5. He ran D20 Modern, kind of did a Buffy Angel uh,
Hmm.
type of hybrid game using D20 Modern.
Are you sure this wasn't me in disguise? Because I did that too.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, using D20 Modern?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, not unless you're Cam.
Maybe it is me. Maybe you've known me all these years.
Yeah, that would be weird. But Cam is our international man of mystery, or should I say interplanar man of mystery,
There you go.
to be more
I,
appropriate.
I know no limits.
Yeah. Um, yeah, no, we played the hell out of that. And then Watsy did this dumb thing, right? I think it was called
Yeah.
4th edition.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I already had WoW accounts. I had a WoW account for myself, and I had one for my wife, and we played. And 4th edition came out, and I bought the books. I bought the core books. That's the only books I bought, was the core books. You know.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, all the other ones were just basically meaningless repetition. It's like, oh, look at all these classes and all these powers. It's like they're all the same when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
It's that's why. I know a lot of people. I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump on your
No,
story
go
here.
ahead.
A lot of people hate 4th edition for good reason, right?
Mhm.
Um, in the end, my analysis of it is that it's a functional game, but it's got all this meaningless bloat. So if anybody wants to play 4th edition for some reason, play the essentials version of it. You could probably find copies of it for cheap. It's basically like digest size books, and it
Hmm.
cuts out a ton of the chaff. It's just here you do this, you have a choice here, choice there, and you can play it. There's really no need for like beginner games at this point in time because there's so many great ones. but I always thought that version of 4E was actually decent for beginner players who
Yeah.
like a very tactical style game.
Yeah. I've heard and I didn't try. Basically what, we tried it. I liked playing sorcerers, and Jeanette liked playing gnomes.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what we couldn't play when 4th edition came out?
Oh yeah, because it didn't have all those same classes.
It didn't have sorcerers, and it didn't have gnomes. Gnomes was relegated to a monster. I remember the little video. Oh, I'm a monster.
Yeah, Weatherman, you're right. For basically after 3.5, things go downhill, in my opinion. Now, Jeff, you're going to have a different opinion, aren't you?
Yes, yeah, because I'm gonna say, so we got out of gaming for a while. We kind of
Mhm.
went dark on gaming.
Yep.
Um,
4E sent a lot of people scattering, as I mentioned in my story, and you mentioned here, and that's when Pathfinder came into
yeah,
existence too.
in the people either just kind of noped out of gaming for a while, or they went to Pathfinder.
Yep.
I think the sales
Well,
of
Pathfinder took over. I mean, Pathfinder was
oh,
the king for a
Pathfinder
while.
like shot above.
Yeah.
Pathfinder was the number one tabletop role playing game for that era.
Yep.
And we called it 3.75, and a lot of my friends went to 3.75. We just kind of like eh. So come 5th edition, they find they which didn't come probably soon enough. But I went ahead and jumped into 5th edition. I thought it was kind of silly the way they released the books. They kind of, I don't understand what their idea is behind releasing a player handbook but no monster manual,
Mm.
releasing and then it's like,
Well, they had a long period of preview for that. Do you remember that?
mhm,
Did
D&D
what was it?
Next.
Yeah, D&D Next and everything. And I remember getting that. I never did much with it. But they had this long period of testing and playing that, which is probably a good idea. But maybe they were guessing that people could use that stuff. I'm not sure. But you're right. It is a little weird. Oh, I better keep talking. Jeff is dying over here. Uh, but I, I, yeah. So fifth edition came out in 2014, as I recall.
Right.
And I picked up the player's handbook. I was, like I said, I was kind of immersed in my board gaming thing, but I'm like, oh, D&D, I'll check it out. I picked up the player's handbook and read through it, and I was like, nah, this isn't for me. But go ahead. You
So
took another path.
yeah, so we kind of embraced, because of the bad feelings we had about 4th edition.
Mm.
We go ahead, I'm like, man, I really miss playing. And it's like, well, we still got our 3.5 stuff, but everybody wants to play 5th edition. All right. So we're like, we'll give it a shot. So we did play 5th edition. There were things I did not like about it. I still don't like those things about it. And there's other things now that I don't, I've grown to not like about it. I liked in 3.5, and some people are going to cringe at this. I liked the skills at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But again, remember, I kind of don't really remember playing much of, first edition or any of that stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean. Especially, I certainly didn't have a core group enough to do that.
Yeah, and so you're talking literally the skill system, right?
The skill system.
Yeah, it's become kind of a point of contention
Hmm.
in modern, because you really didn't have it in OSR kinds of stuff. The old days
Didn't
there
need it.
weren't, right. And people just kind of did their own thing to establish that. But uh, th- third edition really made skill system very explicit and very extensive, and that maintained through fourth edition and even into fifth edition.
Yeah.
And there's good and bad to it, because there's some people that like the looseness of not having that, but
Hmm.
the downside, and I'm sorry if I'm going on a tangent here, but
Hmm.
the downside is People are like, oh, people just roll die and they don't role play anything. It's like true. But then you have the people, and I'm sure experienced gamers have run into this type where it's like the people that think they could just explain their way through anything and basically wear the DM down until they're tired of listening to them and just be like, okay, sure. And that's where a skill system kind of blocks that stuff. It's like, oh,
Right.
you can talk all you want. You can explain everything. I give you a modifier, but you still got to make the roll, buddy. And,
Yeah.
and I've run into a lot of that kind of person. That's just um, they just want to talk their way out of everything. It's like, and all the other players are just sitting there, groaning at this incessant kind of thing. So I actually like skill systems. I think they can be bloated.
Mhm.
And there's also an interesting discussion about, oh, well, skills, it's, this weird thing that came in third edition. Not really. You can make an argument that it kind of existed by late first edition, effectively the same thing. It wasn't as in the forefront, but the non-weapon proficiency system had numbers attached to it and rolls and things. So when it comes down to it, they're really not all that different. But maybe that's a topic for another.
Yeah, I mean, and having been exposed to systems like Castles and Crusades, I see the beauty and the simplicity of less skills is better.
Yeah.
Because what happens is you players tend to focus on the skills they have and forget that you can try anything.
Right. Yeah, that's
And
that's another downside.
they play from the sheet instead of playing from
Right.
the mind.
Yeah.
And and that's why I've kind of changed my tune, because I was one of my biggest things that I pissed me off the most about 5th edition. So in 3.5, you had hide, you had move silently, spot, and listen, right?
Yeah.
They were all different skills.
Yep.
Okay? Hiding and moving silently is not the same skill.
Right.
In 5th edition, oh, it's stealth. And that drove me nuts because you can maybe tiptoe around quietly, but if you're not hiding, if you can't hide very well, if you're a half orc, it doesn't matter how quiet you can tiptoe. It's like, oh, look at the 7-foot tall guy over there, you know. So, and they replaced it with just like stealth and perception. And then should we even talk about passive skills? Oh my god, as a DM, I
Yeah.
hate passive skills.
Yeah.
And then people tend to front load those skills.
Right.
And what's the point of going on an adventure when every player walks in there and they've got a 26 perception or whatever,
Right.
and it's like every trap door, every trap, everything is just like they see it, and it's like,
right. Yeah. That's yeah, exactly. There's all kinds of pitfalls to all these things, right? And
right,
what works and not, and especially, I mean, 3.5 could do this if you focused on it, but 5th edition is famous for the superpower, stuff. And it's just
oh
like,
yeah,
oh, look, I am great at everything. And, da, da, da. And I can heal from 100 yards away and all of it. And you're right. So it's like, why bother at that point, right? Just say,
yeah.
yes, you spot everything. You have X-ray vision like Superman and you can see and
Everybody's
hear
got
everything.
dark vision.
Yeah,
Everybody's got, it's like,
right. It's yeah.
yes,
Davina mentions min
this is
maxing. Yeah.
this is well, in Legacy of the Computer Games, everybody they think that it's just like falling. You're people. The people are conditioned, I guess, to be superheroes.
and you know
And
what? I
if
understand that to some degree. It's like this is about power fantasy stuff, right? But it's like they want to be superheroes in everything, as opposed to, yeah, I
right,
do something and I'm really good at it. I can pick pockets like nobody's business. Nope. I
right,
need to be a superhero in everything. I got to have my pet and I've got to be able to cast spells and I got to be able to heal and I pass every skill check and.
yeah, and that's one of the things I like. The skills are way down in CNC.
Mhm.
And I think that is it 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 spiritually is what Gary probably would have done if he would been around to make, third edition. I think that's what a lot of people have said. It's because Gary Gygax was involved with Trollord Games. He consulted them, and they published stuff for him, and they're
Mhm.
going to be publishing more stuff for him.
Right.
They're supposed to be publishing the Gord novels, which I've not read. Have you ever read the Gord novels?
No.
Gord the Rogue?
Nope.
Yeah, it's Gary's novels, So they're supposed to be republishing them. They're set in Greyhawk, but we'll see how that has to be changed to fit the IP, to make
Sure.
sure that it doesn't step on toes of WotC. But
Yeah, I think Troll Lord Games is maybe the leading company that has their heart in the right place,
mhm.
in regards to role playing. I really like them. I actually don't have any CNC games going. I would play in one if anybody wanted to run one for me, but definitely a company to look at.
And I'm dying to run one. I'm dying to run one. And maybe at some point we'll run one. I really like playing in person. There's a good question. Do you prefer in person or online?
Yeah, I've not played much online. I there was a charity thing on Legion of Myth that they did probably 2 years ago now that they did a Cthulhu game, and I played online for that. But I really haven't played much online, so almost everything is in person for me, and I think that's probably best. I mean, I can play online, but I don't think there's anything that really beats sitting around with your friends at a table.
Yeah, yeah. Weatherman's got a good thing. The person that has an entire wagon of supplies in their backpack because I'm not going to bother keeping track of encumbrance.
Well, that's why that bag of holding is worth
Yeah, yeah.
that
Oh, while we're at
man.
it, eschew materials.
Oh, see, that's okay.
Oh,
We could get into all. You know what? These are all topics that are coming up.
oh yeah.
Everyone's providing you because we could talk about all of
Take
these game
notes.
systems. And Weatherman just brought up encumbrance. There's it. I'm sure everyone has hated it at one time or another, but ignoring it is stupid if you think about it. It really doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, I'm just carrying around 14 weapons and this and that, but it's a pain in a lot of ways. And then Jeff mentioned uh issue materials, which is a feat that I think was first came out in the third edition at some
I
point.
think so.
And not even the base game. I think it came out in expansion of some sort,
Yeah,
Ultimate Major
3.5
or something like
somewhere.
that.
Yeah.
And basically, the part of going back to first edition D&D, the material components you have to have for casting spells, and some of them are very expensive. There's a lot of there in the original game. There was a lot of gold cost checks on things,
Mhm.
and people, it's like, oh, wizards are so much more powerful than fighters. It's like, well, because you're probably not following the rules,
Yes.
and what Jeff's talking about is material components. And you have to have those things. They're limited supply. You can't carry an infinite amount of them. And if you don't have them, you don't cast your spells.
100
Um,
GP Pearl for identify.
that's right. Yeah, right. Identify, which is like, so you
Doesn't
can
mean
tell what
100
magic.
gold pieces either. It means you have to have 100 deep of a pearl that's worth 100. Now some will kind of hybridize it and they'll be like, okay, well you have to spin the gold.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, kind of. It's like, yeah, you could get a hold of the gem or whatever. You still got to burn the resource. But the,
yeah,
the point is, people there's a lot of rules just fall by the wayside, and it ruins things like game balance. Those things are there for a reason.
yeah.
But I'm sure we could have a debate on all of these issues and different sides and pros and cons and all. This is the nitty gritty of gaming, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. And if any of you guys are, comment on the video, um, either on Sci-Fi for Me or on my channel, Tennessee Tabletop Tavern. And let us know some of the topics that you guys would love to discuss, and we'll talk about it. I'm hoping to get some more guests on. I already have a few in mind, but Cam and I really Cam was like, I don't know if did you watch the intro?
Yes,
What'd you think? Was that cute?
I thought it was funny.
Yeah, okay. Do you think Snob thought it was funny?
Probably not. He has no sense of humor.
He has no sense of humor. Oh man. I thought I was trying to be funny. You know how long it took me to do that?
I'm a lot longer. Yes.
Longer than I probably should have spent on it.
Right.
But
I think I've derailed you were talking about your 5th edition experience, right? And so I'm sorry, I've kind of run you into a different topic with all this, but
yeah, that's okay. This postnasal drip thing is keeps me coughing.
Mm.
Yeah, so we did really great. Jeanette, me, my buddy, Shane, who unfortunately passed away right after um, right after we moved into our house here. He never got to see the place, but I have a couple of memorial figures that were painted for me in his memory, because he played a gnome, like a gnome artificer who we had some, and some of those videos are on my channel. He turned himself blue because he drank a potion that turned him polka dot, I think, at one point. And then he tried to mix up another potion, and well, at least it fixed the polka dot problem because he had blue polka dots, I think it was. And now he just turned blue, so he looked like a Smurf.
Mm.
but, um, but at any rate, um, we ran that. I started in Florida. We had a buddy of ours that Shane introduced me to, Ed, who does SCA stuff,
Mhm.
and as well as tabletop and stuff like that. And hopefully, maybe he'll catch the show sometime.
Explain what SCA is for people that might not.
The Society for
Creative
Creative
anachronism.
Anachronism, right? So
This
they
is LARPing with heavy
with
sticks.
weapons. This is as close to the real thing as you can get without actually going fencing or something like that. Um, yeah, and I forget what his title is. I'll have to find out. Um, I'd love to. Maybe I can get him on at some point and he can explain the whole SCA thing to us. I'm not. I've never done it. I've never been to it. But I know him and his wife are into it, and I think one of his kids is as well. But he's just a nerd like the rest of us because he made a classic, authentic Battlestar Galactica jacket,
Mm.
like the Colonial
From
Viper
the
pilot
from the
jacket.
70s
Oh
one?
yeah, from the good show.
Yeah.
There's a thing of contention, right?
Yes.
I prefer the original series. I think the original series had the look and feel like I liked.
You should join us for a debate on that on Top Lofty Lounge
Oh, when are we going to talk about that?
whenever you want.
Okay, yeah,
Always
we
looking
could
for
do that.
shows.
But speaking of Top Lofty, go
Yes.
ahead, give it a plug.
Speaking of Top Lofty Lounge, that's the show that I do after this show at 11 p.m. Eastern on the Sci-Fi Snob channel. Apparently, my Sundays are going to be very busy from now on. So, but right after this show, come join us over there.
Yeah, yeah. And we try and give Cam a break, at least about 15, 20 minutes or so, maybe
Yep.
more.
Yep.
So we won't go too much longer. But my personal opinion on 5th edition, it was good up until the point where Tasha's came out, and I think a lot of people agree with me on that one. I think that's
Tasha's. Let me summarize it. Everyone is special.
yes. So, it was kind of going downhill, but then they came out with Tasha's, and Tasha's just threw them. It just, yeah,
Over
it
the
made
cliff.
everybody. It was over the cliff. It was Fonzie jumping the shark.
Yes.
For 5th edition, yeah. I call it 5.5. Because it really was different enough that if you had characters that was Tasha's and Xanathar's builds, they weren't necessarily quite compatible with the core original, pre-Tasha's stuff. And of course, 2024 is just an abomination.
Yeah, it's funny. It's all compatible, but you really can't use anything that fast. It's a soft 6E. They're full of crap. It's
it is. I don't know what the hell it is. And that's another subject that's coming up because 6th edition, there's rumors of a 6th edition. Did you hear about this?
Well, really 7th edition. Let's be clear. 6th
Yeah,
edition is
because
2024,
that's what I consider 2024 to be 60. So this is to
and
me going to be 70.
apparently it flopped, and now they're gonna try again. I guess.
Surprise!
I mean, well, that's another whole thing. But basically, they had all these online plans and da 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 da. And shockingly, I thought they would drag it out. They just ditched it. I mean, they just threw it in the crap can. I mean,
Well, everybody that worked on it left or got fired.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, Mike Merles is out, and Merles was probably the one guy.
Well, he was out before
He was
this
out before, yeah.
2024 crap.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They moved him out because he was problematic. I think
He,
probably for the
the
weirdos.
irony is he really wasn't.
No,
But
of course not.
what happened to him, and because I'm sure he and I would not agree on most political things.
Right.
Okay, I'm not going to say he's not a right winger by any sense of the imagination, in my opinion. But
Remember when that didn't matter?
right? Well, yeah, like most of my gaming life up until the past 5-10 years. But he didn't. He was at least an honest enough person to, when allegations about a particular individual came out, he said, "Let's wait until we get the whole story."
Mm-hmm. How dare
And
you? How dare you,
how
sir?
dare you? Oh my God. Yeah. And so he got canceled. Watsy stuck him in a closet somewhere
Yeah.
and then threw him over to Magic at some point. I think he worked on some Magic stuff,
Yeah.
and then eventually got rid of him. And something broke in Chris Perkins. I used to like watching Acquisitions Incorporated.
Mm.
I can't stand Critical Role. I am not a critter. I have mad respect for what Mercer did. Somehow he convinced a bunch of people that their show was great. I like the cartoon.
Yeah.
The Vox Machina is all right. Critical
Well,
Role is boring, and it's
okay.
more boring now than it ever was.
If you like C grade actors, and don't get me
Well,
wrong,
they're voice actors too.
I have
Remember?
nothing against working actors of any kind,
No.
whatever, but that's what they are. They're performers, and they're performing. You will never convince me that is an actual game that's being shown there. It's garbage.
Diggerhurt. I call it Diggerhurt.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
We can talk about Daggerheart on another episode. And Draw Steel while we're at it. That would probably be a good addendum to a fourth edition conversation, because that's Matt Colville, and I enjoyed watching a lot of Colville stuff, but he loves 4th edition, and and I think again, if we do a topic about 4E, I think I've heard some people say if they had released it and called it D&D Tactics, it probably as a separate game, not as the new edition, it probably would have been more successful.
Yep. And they could have, I'm trying to remember, because remember the D&D miniatures game they came out with, that, it's like, I think that was before 4th edition, if I remember correctly. They could have done something and kind of just, because they did, I think they did several actually. They had the miniatures with the blind boxes, and they had the other one that was like a tactical game, and they had all these different things. And then 4th edition, it's like if they would have just focused on one thing, like you just said, I never thought of this. This is your idea, but it just rings a bell. They could have done a separate game that was really a miniatures game focused thing, same kind of rules and stuff, and run in parallel with a more traditional role playing game. It might have succeeded,
more combat oriented. Yeah,
Although the third edition was pretty combat oriented by that,
Yeah,
But you know what? They always blame it's like, oh, it's all about that. It's like, no, you could play whatever kind of game you want. If you want to do heavy role playing and theater of the mind, nothing stopped you from doing that. Then the game system did lend itself to tactical stuff. The battle mat and everything
yeah.
was inherent to it. But you could play whatever style you want. You can't totally blame the game system for your choices at your table.
So that brings up that you mentioned it. Theater of the mind versus, and maybe this is a subject for another show. Theater of the mind versus minis versus a VTT.
Yeah. I ran through my history there. It was like I said, I bought the Grenadier miniatures first right off the bat. We never used them. I mean, we might have had them on the table or something and painted them, but we didn't use them, or if at best, which is like, oh look, we're kind of have them set in the middle of the table. We
Inspiration.
Never, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're inspiration things.
Until third edition, we never played anything but Theater of the Mind kind of stuff.
And see, third edition, that's all I played was Theater of the Mind.
Really?
I never used minis. That was the other thing I didn't like about fourth edition. It's a game played with pencils, paper, and miniatures. What? What? What do you mean? Why did you put miniatures in the...
Okay.
Oh, because you're trying to sell them now.
Sure, but this is a whole nother debate. We just start writing these topics down. We're just flowing out of here.
We're gonna have to listen to this episode 3 times.
Right. But go back to Moldvay Basic, and it talks about miniatures.
Yeah.
It wasn't a requirement, and it's never a requirement. It's still not a requirement today. But it's certainly some games pushed you heavily in that direction, no doubt. But
that's how Games Workshop makes their money.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you just mentioned you played third edition without it, and I'm assuming it worked just fine.
Oh yeah. And I played most of fifth edition. Although in 5e, I used a VTT and ran a local version of it. And the players didn't control the VTT. This was not an online game. I just used a VTT. There's a free one that I still have. They still making it called Map Tool, RP Tools. And there's a map part of the RP Tools is Map Tool. You can run it, and then you can run a second copy that connects to the first copy through 127.0.0.1. Take me home. You have it connect up to that and use that one, put a hidden token on that one, and that's show that on the TV set. And that's what I did.
Well, that's yet another topic right there is electronics, computers, and role playing. This is there's an article on Sci-Fi for Me TV came out several years ago in January that talked about all these things and the electronics being paired with role playing, and it goes way back. And it's very interesting topic if you're a gaming nerd to go through those things. And it's like that was always a dream for me in the old days. Back in the 80s, I'm like, I could type in this code and have it do something. In regards to role playing, I can have my character sheets in the computer. And it's like, and today we can do all that, and it's like, nah, I just prefer a piece of paper.
Nah. Yeah, it's like I have not used D&D Beyond in like years, right? For anything other than just looking up to see what the hell they call it in 5th edition or whatever.
Yeah.
But what did I do? I went out and I had to make a character for this game that I was in tonight, right? So I'm pulling up, I'm creating a character, and what do? I create my character in there. I muddle my way through D&D Beyond, which I hadn't used in years, right? And I printed it out. Did I use my phone? No. One of the girls that was on at the session was doing it that way. I think her fiance husband. I wasn't quite sure about that, but here's my character sheet. Let's see. I really did.
As God intended.
And you look, there's a pencil eraser mark right here where I erased my hit points when I lost my hit points. I got down to, what did I get down to? About 4 hit points, I think, at one point, or 3 hit points from 15. Now, mind you, the game that I played in on a Patreon stream with Chuck from Trollord. That game, my wizard had 4 hit points, and he had four hit points up to the moment he died at the very end of the game, and I was the last one to die. So, you don't need all them hit points depending on the system.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think there's a lot of
Well,
topics.
a ton of topics, and well, just on hit points. I've been playing as you on the Discord. If people follow that on Sci-Fi for me, the Dragonbane game by Free League Publishing. As I've mentioned to you and Gojira and a few others, and it's a low hit point game too. It's one of those games you get hit points and they never go up. I mean, there's kind of a feat kind of thing you get very rarely where you can add like 2 or something to your hit points, but you're sitting at hit points in the teens, and that's it. And the weapon damage is no joke in this game. You're pounding out like 2d8, 3d6, kind of damage all the time. And it's pretty fun. This old school thing where it's like, we're 1 or 2 hits away from dead. Are you muted? I can't hear you right now.
Sorry.
Okay.
I forgot to unmute myself after going through another coughing fit. I was gonna say, yeah, and you were actually down, in 5th edition. You're down, not dead.
Mhm.
You've got got chances, death saves, and all this stuff, and it's hard to kill. It's hard to kill a player character.
Right.
It really is.
Another topic: how to deal with stamina,
Oh
fatigue,
man, in
wounds, all that
yeah,
stuff.
5th edition, it's tough. It's tough as a DM to make the game a challenge, especially if you have a group of seasoned players,
Mm-hmm.
or at least a partial group of seasoned players.
Yeah.
5th edition, and especially 5.5 and on. If you got seasoned players, people that have been playing for 10, probably even 5 years, 5, 10, or longer, it's cake, literal
Yeah.
cake. They're just going to walk through it unless you step up everything.
Yeah.
And there are ways to deal with that. So, that's a topic. There's lots of topics. Let us know. Like I said, leave comments on either on either any of the streams. I've got it on Rumble. I've got it on Sci-Fi for Me TV, and I've got it on the Tennessee Tabletop Tavern. Comment in there. Let us know the topics you want to discuss. If you have any suggestions for people that you'd like us to get on the show, by all means, let myself and Cam know. Again, put it in the comments. You can DM me. I'm on Discord. I'm on Jason's Discord. I'm on my Discord. I'm on Snob's Discord. I'm on all the Discords. I think I
You
got
are
like
the Discord master.
yeah.
So where do you find yourself today in terms of RPGs post 5e?
After the debacle with the OGL was the last straw for me.
Mm-hmm. And many
I
people.
said, I'm done with WotC. It was already going downhill. It was always embracing the sparkle trolls and screwing over everybody who actually loved the game for loving the game, and not were, ooh, look, this is a fad and I want to be part of it now because it's cool to be a nerd. Not that group. That's the group that ruined the game. And yeah, we picked up some people in that. Hopefully, most of the ones that are interested will stick around, and the rest of them will get the hell out. We don't need them. Move on. Go ahead.
Yes.
Go destroy us something else.
Yep. Exactly.
And I did too. I moved on. I canceled my subscription. I had been a master tier subscriber to D&D Beyond since it launched, and I canceled my sub and have not reactivated it since. Haven't bought a WotC module, well, whatever they call them, campaign, I guess. That's another topic. Campaigns versus modules, which is better? I think sometimes the thinner stuff is better, or if it's broken up into thinner stuff. These big long campaigns, yeah, you'll never get through them. How many times have you gone through the complete, any of the complete adventures that WotC published. Probably never.
Right.
You never get, because what's the average, 6 sessions or something like that? I don't know.
Yep.
But at any rate, um, yeah, I'm like, I want something else. Jumped on the Shadow Dark wagon. I went and got that Kickstarter. I've got Dragon Slayer from Greg Gillespie, who I am hoping to be able to get on the show. I think that would be an awesome chance to discuss it, because he kind of comes from our perspective. He's just Canadian, like Snob. Um, and
Well, he's
of course,
he's probably a lot cooler than Snob, right?
oh, yeah. Well, he's a doctor,
Oh,
like PhD doctor.
there you go.
So yeah,
Doctor of gaming.
yeah. Well, he should be. He sure as hell should be. Guy's smart, man. Oh my God, he's gonna run circles around us if we talk to him. We're gonna feel like, but
Good. Excellent.
yeah, yeah. He'll make us feel like idiots, which maybe we already are for
Yeah.
doing this.
Yes. Every show we're on, we prove that.
Yeah. So and of course, Castles and Crusades. CNC backs the military 150%. They give huge discounts to the military, to veterans, and they will send care packages to troops that are stationed overseas and stuff like that. So I did not serve. Nobody wanted me. I tried. No, they were like, no thanks. But my foster brother, he's a retired master sergeant from the Army. My dad was in the Air Force. My grandfather was in the he claims the Air Force, the Army Air Corps. He was in World War
Yeah.
II.
There you go.
My grandfather was in the Navy. My father-in-law was retired from the Navy. So I've got, my wife was a Navy brat. I love the folks in the military. I work with a lot of people that were in them. So and they just totally embrace them. And do whatever they can. They bend over backwards for them. So I kind of been bent over backwards to see what I could do to help Castles and Crusades, and Troller games in general, because they've got, they've got their adventures. Amazing Adventures is their siege engine based. And I don't know if you've talked about that, or if you've looked at that too or not. I haven't picked it up
I
yet.
haven't. No.
But it uses the siege engine, which is, of course, the engine from Castles and Crusades, but it's for more modern stuff, and they're coming out with stuff for that. So I've got a lot of CNC books I'm eager to run. I've got Shadow Dark stuff I'm eager to run, and I want to try Dragon Slayer and a bunch of other stuff. So that's where I'm at now. I'm OSR. I want to pick up some of the OSR stuff before they change it.
Yep.
Hey,
So
Jeanette.
that's a whole nother topic we could talk about, where all of the modern game things. I'm kind of been delving into the free league stuff a lot lately. But Troll is it's one of the few companies I feel good saying, yes, check out Troll Games. You're not gonna you know why? Because they're interested in making games, not purity tests for what political belief or social belief you do or do not have.
And that is what sold me, is when somebody posted something and Steven said, we make games.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
They don't, we don't get involved in the political stuff. I personally think Steven's he's a business owner, and he's in middle America. He's in flyover country. They're based out of Arkansas. I'm pretty sure I know where he lies. Because he's probably a little bit older than us.
Sure, but
So,
it's his games don't depend on it, or whatever his
right.
views are. He, like you said, he makes games. That's the way it should be.
They don't bake that stuff into it. If you want to put it in your CNC game, more power to you. They're not going to say nothing about it. If you don't want to put it in there, they're not going to say nothing about it. Yep. So, yeah. Well, Cam, you have to get ready for the show. I guess we should probably also tease the other thing. On the 7th of January, also on Sci-Fi Snobs channel. We're going to be back with our Babylon 5 retrospective,
Yep.
episode 4.
Yep, we're in the beginning of season
Season
3,
3, yeah.
and
And we
taking a couple week break just because we do our shows on Wednesday, and that happens to be
Christmas Eve
Christmas
and New
Eve, and
Year's Eve.
yeah, so we figure might as well hold off on those.
Yeah, but something tells me people are going to be busy, possibly including ourselves. Although I think Snob said he might do a
Yeah,
stream,
New Year's Eve, maybe just kind of a hangout.
and I know a couple of other people that are doing that too. So we'll see. We'll see. But definitely we have a huge announcement. I think we're going to make on the 7th. So we got a mystery guest coming sometime in January. So I think I'm so I just can't wait. Yeah. I haven't told a soul who it is. I know, I don't know. I know nothing. I know nothing. It would be like, from Klaus. But
Sergeant Schultz.
you Sergeant Schultz, yeah. Yes.
Yep.
I know nothing. I know nothing.
Yep. So exciting stuff coming up.
Yes.
And we just came up with a half a dozen topics for this show, so we will have no trouble filling time.
Yep. And if there's, like I said, if there's a YouTuber out there that I'm not aware of, that you think that would be an interesting person to have on, let us know, man. Another topic, and any topics you want to talk about, you name it. Just let Cam and me know, and however to get a hold of us, you can hit me up on Twitter. If you know, I'm sorry, X. sorry, Elon. Sorry. Um, hit me up on the Discord, on the Snobs Discord or whatever. Find me, DM me. Eventually, I'll drop my Discord because I do have one called Tennessee Tabletop Tavern. But at this point, it's I still need to rework it because there's a lot of old stuff from the games that we run. But
Sure.
Anything else to say, Cam?
No, I enjoyed talking about this, learning a little bit about your background. I know we've kind of probably heard a little bit here and there, but hearing it a little more comprehensive way. And I enjoyed the chat, dropping their little bits and pieces about their experience and what they like and don't like. Always appreciate the chat. That is kind of the life's blood of any of these kinds of streams, because otherwise we're just talking at each other.
Yeah.
So, appreciate it.
And Jeanette was picking on me. She said we need to mention the people in the chat more often. So I Jeanette, hi. Jeanette said hi to Davina.
Yes,
Davina, say hi to Jeanette.
Weatherman, Snuggie,
Snugs, yeah.
Greg.
Oh man, Weatherman. All you guys, we appreciate you coming out. Keely Chow, hail Keely Chow. Oh, you can't see that.
Another stalwart of the Sci-Fi for Me channel.
Yeah. Congratulations, Keely, on that win from nowhere. Was not expecting that, or them to even be playoff contenders, to be honest. But at any rate, congratulations, and he'll know what I'm talking about. So, I think I'm gonna roll the credits. I don't have any cutesy thing for the closing. And hopefully I changed the stuff out from the one that should have been removed. But anyway, I'm gonna roll it, and we will see you guys next week. Cam will see you guys in about 20 minutes.
Yep. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Take care.